So we'll talk to those who are aligned consciously in their life with spiritual work. Mm. What does spiritual work look like to you? You sit back and you ask yourself, what do I think of is spiritual work? For those of you who don't call it spiritual, you might call it consciousness. You might call it dealing with your unconscious or your superconsciousness. Whatever you label it, whatever you call it, what is the nature of that? What does it look like to you? I've asked 3 or 4 people who spent many years at it. And I said, when you picture spiritual work, what do you see? And they see a person kneeling down and praying. They see a person in church. They see a person at a gathering with everybody holding hands and everybody saying Om and picturing light in the center of the circle. They picture themselves sitting with a book and studying late at night, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. They picture themselves listening to audio tapes of well-known spiritual speakers. They picture themselves at convocations for body, mind, and spirit and healing services. And so this is a whole panorama of that which the mind then encompasses and says that is spiritual work. But then when faced with a life crisis, it's as though that is excused out. That is not spiritual work. Spiritual work is everybody studying this textbook and looking at a picture of a guru and singing songs. And then there's an acute catastrophe, and we bypass that now, and we resume our spiritual work after we've soothed that son of a bitch and after we've handled all these various things in our life. As a friend of mine once said, well, let's soothe them first and then forgive them later. It's as though one doesn't really see the essence of spiritual work. What one doesn't see is that the spiritual work has brought up these acute crises and brought us into them, and that these are the opportunity. This is where the spiritual work is happening. The other was preparation. The other was gathering of information, the gathering of experience, the deciding on direction, the accumulating of spiritual knowledge. And then comes suddenly the moment of truth. Then comes the time to do it, when we take it out of the intellect. And so we see people who have been in spiritual work and around metaphysical circles for years and years, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. They have the same illnesses. They have the same problems. Their personality is the same. They haven't had any of these experiences of inner truth that they hear about. And what is the problem? The problem is when life brings to them the golden opportunity. This is it. This is the time to make that spiritual knowledge real. This is the time for transformation. This is the time to take that leap in consciousness. These are golden moments. Acute catastrophes are the times when you make great leaps. When you face it directly, when you fixedly say, I will not veer from this spiritual work, because now what we're really confronted with is real spiritual work, not reading some pleasant sounding phrases out of a book, not looking at the happy picture of some guru and with his robes and all that. We're right in the thick of it. We're right in the teeth of it. The teeth of spiritual work is when you are confronted with that which you cannot avoid, a direct confront that requires a leap in consciousness. And so these are golden opportunities, priceless. If you see them as priceless, your willingness to be with them, your willingness to say, okay, your willingness to go with it no matter how painful it may be, then makes a giant leap in consciousness, a real advance in wisdom, knowledge, and awareness. That which you read about within the books then becomes your own inner experience. There is something below the emotionality that is literally experiencing this energy out for you. It's literally being handled by something far greater than your own personal self. Were there only the small personal self there, it would be totally swamped and obliterated by the energy released by these experiences. It is because there is something greater than the personal self, which is more than capable of handling it, that allows you to survive it. The trick of the mind is not to see that. The trick of the mind is to try to change what goes out there, trying to figure it out, fall back upon the intellect. And the intellect is not going to resolve this kind of a problem. When you've dropped a big oak log on your foot and you've broken all the bones across the front of your foot, what's going to be needed at that moment is your readiness and your willingness to handle that which life presents. The having the tools, the having the willingness brings about a very rapid healing.